gimmicks can be described as a lot of things when it comes to Smash Bros. You got your K-Rool belly armor, you got your Little Mac super armor on all the Smash attacks, you got Lucario's aura, of course. You can even classify Cloud's limit gauge as a gimmick mechanic if you want to, or Roy's closer hitbox does more damage, and Mars like tipper hitbox does more damage, all that stuff. You know, you could really derive a lot of things when it comes to gimmicks. And some gimmicks can be really fun and just like kind of like a passive goofy thing. Some gimmicks can be kind of like a character's centerpiece, you know, like kind of what makes the character the character. And other gimmicks can be so polarizing that you just have to rely on it, otherwise you lose the game, because you literally need it in order for your character to actually do anything. Like Lucario's aura, for example. Like, you can't kill anyone at kill percents for most people unless you have aura, because for Lucario, kill percent can be any percent or super high percent. Like, there's no real consistent kill range, because you have to consider not only your aura percent but also the opponent's percent. So even if the opponent is at like 120, if you don't have enough aura to combo into a kill confirm that can kill at that range at your current aura threshold, then you're just kind of waiting until you take enough damage to passively, or maybe just get a straight hit off stage to edge guard them or something like that. And you know, you're not saying you can't kill at all at 0% or low percent when they're at high percent. Like, obviously you can, but it's just way harder as opposed to, you know, being able to kill someone at 60 with like a up tilt back air or something. But that's besides the point. My point really is that my problem with gimmick characters is that when it comes to gimmicks in Smash Bros, I think that they should not be a thing that makes the character be able to do anything. You know, like, a gimmick should be a passive thing that assists the character, and like, even if they don't actually use said gimmick, they can still, you know, play the game normally without the gimmick coming into play every time. Like, K-Rool's belly armor comes to mind because it kind of just, you know, happens all the time if you think about it, but it's one of those things where it just helps the character do things, you know? Like, K-Rool is never gonna really intentionally go for belly armor plays. Like, obviously there might be some cases where they like armor through I would say like a get up attack or a ledge attack or ledge jump attack or something like that with forward tilt, or they do a down smash to armor through a up tilt or something like that. You know, something that's kind of just happens. But that's just things that just happens no matter what. You know, they can't turn it off or on, but even if they don't get to use it to its fullest potential, they still get to do everything else normally. Now, let's go with Lucario, for example, where his aura mechanic pretty much derives whether or not he gets to play the game properly, because if you don't have enough aura, then your attacks just don't do enough damage for a little bit. And it may not seem that bad, but you know, when you look at the multipliers, because he starts with 0.66 times for his aura when he's at 0%. And granted, yeah, he does get aura faster when he has less stocks and whatnot, and that's how it works. But you know, when your slight, you know, mechanic also is a comeback mechanic, but it's also something that effectively makes your character bad from the get-go. It's kind of just like, you know, it kind of feels like it's not as fun. Yeah, granted, if Lucario started with like a 1x multiplier on all his moves, I don't think he'd necessarily be broken, but I feel like that they definitely could reel it in a little bit to make it so that maybe he starts at just base damage, but then the aura kind of climbs up super slowly and only starts at like a certain threshold, like 100% maybe. Like, I don't think that we should be having such ridiculous scaling from like 0.66 all the way to 1.8. But like, even so, half the time you don't even get to 1.8 because most characters' kill percents is around the time before you even get to that range anyway. Because, you know, by the time you get to 80%, that's kill percent for a lot of people. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the mechanic, because yeah, sure, you're supposed to survive longer and just utilize your aura and try and, you know, not int, or I guess a better way to say, try not to just go in guns blazing trying to get a kill when you should be trying to preserve your stock for aura. But Lucario players shouldn't have to fundamentally change the way they're playing the entire game just because their aura mechanic is kind of forcing them to. You know, if Lucario wants to scrap, they should be able to scrap, you know? But that's not the only character that kind of comes to mind when it comes to these gimmicks things, right? Because let's look at someone like, you know, Little Mac, for example. Because Little Mac, as we all know, is just ground-centric fighter. He's always on the ground. He wants to be on the ground. Air fighter, not air fighter, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes down to it, you know, like, when he's on the ground, that's when he's most powerful. Because you got armor smash attacks, you got a bunch of ground moves that do lots of damage or just good playing dead overall. Maybe they can combo, maybe they can kill at certain percentages, but you know, Little Mac is still always going to be on the ground. Yeah, he gets some use out of his aerials. I know that Little Mac mains have been using his aerials for like a little bit of combos and like whatnot, but you know, obviously more often than not, if you are playing Little Mac, you're going to be running around the ground. Like, you're not going to be fighting Little Macs trying to air combo people because they just really can't. That like his whole design philosophy is, I'm on the ground, I'm gonna hit you on the ground, and I want to be on the ground, but if I'm not on the ground, then I suck. That's kind of how he is. And you know, some people don't mind that much, but to people who want to, I don't know, maybe someone is a huge fan of Punch Out, then you got someone trying to play Little Mac and they realize that, oh wait, my character is like really bad if I get thrown off stage. And it's like, what's going on, you know? Because like, you just want to play the game like anyone else, right? Like, not saying that every character needs to be created equal and everything. Like, obviously, Little Mac, with his current properties, if Little Mac any good aerial like game at all, then he'd probably be at least a B tier, but he'd be way more obnoxious overall anyway. Because you can't have a fighter who has armor smash attacks and like, you know, a bunch of good ground tilts, like a frame one jab, all that good stuff, and just a bunch of ridiculous kill moves and KO punch. Let's not forget about KO punch. You can't have all of that and also have a character that has a good, like, decent air game, because if you have all that, then you know, yeah, I know there's a lot of characters who already have all that stuff, like Sephiroth, for example, because you know, Sephiroth has armor smash attacks. Granted, it's only with one wing, but still, he has armor smash attacks and also great air game. But thing about Sephiroth is that he's very light, so that's kind of like one of his, like, I guess, weaknesses, that he's very light. So even if, yeah, he can, you know, edge guard like ruthlessly, and he has armor smash attacks and whatnot, and one wing, which by the way, one wing in itself is a horrible gimmick, but we'll get to that. But yeah, if Little Mac had any decent air game, then he'd just be like a super annoying character to fight already. And even as now, he's not super fun to fight against for a lot of people. Even, yeah, you could say, oh, just throw him off stage. It's not that simple, because yeah, you can throw him off stage and he's essentially just like a sitting duck, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna be able to actually, you know, finish a stock right away, because some characters can't even edge guard that well on their own, and other characters also have poor recoveries, because you know, Little Mac may have like one of the worst recoveries in the game, but I mean, like, if you've seen a Little Mac try to recover back on stage, then you'd say, then it's kind of like almost watching King Dedede try to get back on stage. It's like a whole ass cutscene. Like, I don't know about most people, but when I see Little Mac trying to recover, I usually just either stay in ledge trap, or I just try and hit him with a disjoint if I can. But if I don't have a long enough disjoint to challenge whatever they're doing, then I just let them just do their little dance, because a lot of the times Little Macs will do literally anything they can to get back on the stage. There's like so much that I've seen Little Mac players do over the years to try and get back on the stage, and a lot of the times it works. So anyway, back to Sephiroth though, because his main gimmick is the one wing, and as we all know, one wing activates, it's kind of like Aura, where it's like it activates when he's at a certain deficit, and it comes out sooner when he's at a stock deficit too. But you know, it also does not last forever. Once he has one wing, he doesn't have it for the entire like rest of the stock or anything. Once he gets it, if he takes a stock or he gets one high enough in percent over them, like he's like, you know, the percent lead is in his favor instead of the other way around, then the one wing disappears. Which, yeah, you could say, oh, that's, you know, balancing factor. But like, one wing is pretty much the only reason why Sephiroth can even do anything, because, you know, with him being so light, tall, and all that stuff, yeah, he has a ridiculously long sword, but you know, the fact that he can also die at like 50% to a lot of things, it kind of doesn't really make sense whenever his biggest comeback mechanic, which is one wing, comes out at higher percents, and even when he gets one wing, he doesn't have it forever, or at least for the rest of the stock, because, you know, then if he has for the rest of the stock, then you can, you know, have to respect him for longer. But like, as soon as you lose your stock and then his one wing disappears, it's like, okay, I can go back to killing him now, because not only is he at high percent, which means he's probably going to die to whatever he throw out next, it means that he also doesn't get one wing back, because he only gets it once per stock. Not so much he gets it for multiple stocks. Like, oh, if he loses another like 30%, then oh, no, 1 wing's back. No, he literally only gets 1 wing per stock, and it also doesn't last for the rest of the stock once it activates. So not only are you stuck with the comeback mechanic, the comeback mechanic doesn't even stay a comeback mechanic for long. Meanwhile, you know, other characters get their comeback mechanics pretty much every other stock. Like Joker can get at least 2 to 3 Arsens, maybe even more depending on how much he uses Rebel's Guard. But like, you know, why is it that Joker is able to get Arsene all the time, but Sephiroth's not allowed to have 1 wing for more than 1 stock? You know, like, that doesn't really make sense to me. It could just be a me thing because I don't play Joker and I don't really play a whole lot of Sephiroth, but I played enough Sephiroth to know that I feel like that 1 wing is kind of the only reason why he's able to really be a threat, you know? But I think that if they're gonna have gimmick characters, which I think inherently gimmick characters are fine, like I don't mind gimmicks in their entirety, it's only when it's a poorly designed gimmick, because there's a difference between a gimmick that is like, okay, well, this gimmick is cool and all, but it doesn't really help me, because if anything I have to rely on it too much, because you never want to rely on your gimmicks too much, because then it becomes more about playing around said gimmick than it does about playing the character itself, because you can't have both ways. You either have a gimmick, a secondary, or you don't have the gimmick at all, because if the gimmick is the primary thing about the character, then it kind of undermines the entire character from the get-go. And again, like I said earlier, you're playing around the gimmick more than you're playing around the character itself, which doesn't really seem fun for anyone involved, because again, the person playing the character has to rely on the gimmick, and the person playing against that character has to, you know, play around said gimmick in order to not die to the gimmick. So it just becomes like a who can out gimmick the other, I guess. It's kind of really weird to say it, but you know what I'm going at. Anyway, I just wanted to make a quick little discussion video about this, because it's something kind of throwing around in my head for a bit, and I feel like that is something that's worth talking about. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new. Really been loving the support on the recent videos lately. I am trying my best to get them out as fast as possible, but I have a lot of things going on IRL, and if you want to see me more, you know, in my element, I guess you can check out my Twitch channel, Pandora SSBU. I really would love to see you there. Anyway, it's been enough for me, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye now.